What are you going to do with those pies, boys?
Hello, cadets, and welcome to another episode of the Big Monster Briefing Room. Let me go ahead and bring up my able-bodied assistant, Major Millie Hazzard. Are you there?
Why, hello, General. I'm just drinking from my Orchid Times mug. Isn't it beautiful?
I can't see it. There's just a black box on my screen. But anyway, you know, those tech gremlins happen.
Uh-oh. Can the cadets see my mug, please? I hope the cadets can see
Can you see her mug?
No, I'm going to go out and come back in. Alan says he cannot. Alan said he cannot see me. I'm going to go out and
We
come
can't
back.
see your beautiful mug.
What about now? They say I went dark. They say I went dark. All right, I'm dark. Anyways, keep going then. We have enough people.
This is my beautiful mug, and this is my ugly mug.
There you go. You can hear me, though. They can hear me.
I can hear you.
That's what it is. I don't know why. It's not dark
it's
on
top
my
secret
end.
assignment time.
It's dark secret, and I'm upset too because I have this beautiful mug here. Anyways, let's move on. Maybe someone will see me at some point.
Okay. Yes. Tonight we're going to do a monster. There you go. I can see you now. A movie that has a lot of monster action in it. A lot of classic monsters. Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, the Gillman, the Mummy. I mean, it's got a lot of monsters in it. And the fun thing about this film is that kids take on these monsters. The kids are called the Monster Squad. You know, a lot of people like this movie. A lot of people think it's an awesome movie. Yeah, it's an interesting training film. I've enjoyed watching it more than once for its entertainment value. We're going to talk about whether or not how they dispatch monsters in this, whether it works or not. We'll see. But we have we have for the first time a panel of guests now. We've had two guests on the show before. When we did Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, we had Jaime Bennett and Alan Hops, who are our Franken expert and the expert who is an expert in everything that's hairy, as I like to call him. Tonight we have three. We have a panel. We have three. Because Barbie McGee, who's been on the show before to talk about vampires, found out she went back into her lineage and found out she is a Van Helsing.
Can you believe it?
She is Dr. Barbie Van Helsing now.
It's an amazing announcement.
So let's bring them all up.
She's true blue, I'll tell you that. She is totally authentic.
There they are.
Hi, everybody.
So we're going to talk the Monster Squad tonight. So, or this show, I should say, because most people watch this in post. So, I got to be careful not to say, "Hey, good evening, good night." You know, and again, it's 3:00 on the West Coast. So, Monster Squad came out, I believe it was 1987. No, 1997.
87.
Is it 87?
87.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I knew Alan back then. And again, I
not 87. No.
Yeah. I mean, that was after. I think it's 97. Because these kids are grown up, but they're not like us. They're not really grown up. I remember him watching this movie, and everybody thought he was going to hate it, and he came back with a glowing review.
I love Monster Squad.
Yes. So
it was 87 though.
It was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I remember Skull Kingdom around year 2000. So okay, all right.
Well, I just remember when
earlier than I thought I was.
When I looked it up, I was like, "Oh, these are kids, and this is an old movie." And I had already graduated from high school.
Yes.
86.
Yes,
It's even though it's old now. It's an older film now. You know,
it is true enough. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our timeline, and we'll make comments as we go along. This is a TriStar film, not a Universal film, surprisingly enough. Usually, when you hear these monsters, you think Universal films. So they could not go with the same designs. I love the opening when they talk about the dark time with Dr. Abraham Van Helsing, your predecessor, your ancestor.
General Howitzer. We have Jaime here, right?
Yes. Did I not give Jaime?
You did not.
I'm sorry. Jaime is our Franken expert. She's been on the show before. I apologize.
Okay.
And she is also part of our panel tonight. Again, I'm sorry. I'm trying to rush through. We have another show coming on the tail end of ours, and they blew it. Is the kicker? That's the punchline. They blew it. And then we got the Monster Squad, the title. I put this slide in here, Tom Noonan as as Frankenstein, because we've talked about this with Jaime and Alan before, whether you should call it the Frankenstein monster and call the doctor Dr. Frankenstein. Who gets called Frankenstein? Just Frankenstein, no doctor. And Alan made a very good point that the monster who was created by Dr. Frankenstein should be called Frankenstein. Should take on the name of his creator.
That's my belief. But I could go on for 20 minutes about that. So
well, and
I know we're kind on time.
I've always
That's why I put
that
this slide in. That's proof right there. Tom Noonan as Frankenstein. So we go to Castle Dracula. He is not in his coffin. He's hanging up on the roof as a bat, and changes into a human being with clothes on. And interestingly enough, there's a shot later on where he's transforming back from a bat after he's been shot. And you see, even though he's mostly a bat, you can still see his collar, which is kind of nice.
So I just want to say here that werewolves get a raw deal. Vampires are issued a transforming tuxedo, and werewolves they always wake up naked, often at the zoo. It's not fair. Not fair.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So there's Van Helsing's crew. They're heading to the castle. They blow the door. At the front of the castle, coming in, and of course the vampire brides are waiting for them. Van Helsing has a crossbow, which is nice.
I own that crossbow now. That is in my.
You have a crossbow too?
No, that's my crossbow. That's the actual crossbow.
Well, awesome.
It's handed down generations. Yes.
I would like to see a picture of that sometime. And they bring in a virgin to read the. You have to have a virgin read the incantation. There's a magic stone that can open up a portal into limbo, and all the evil can go into the portal. So they bring her in barefoot to read the incantation, which is in German. And the dead start to rise to stop them, and everything, all hell breaks loose. The portal opens up, and that's it. We go to the school, and there's Hazard.
They blew it.
They blew it. Well, but actually, in all actuality, the monsters weren't really doing anything exciting for the 100 years after that. So,
and instead of a world of peace, they just kicked the can down the road 100 years.
There you go.
That's
blowing it. And so that's not so bad.
I was also paying attention to all the items flowing into the portal. I was like, oh, we're going to see that chair again.
That's going to come. Because I hate to give spoilers, but we go from, on this show, we do a timeline from beginning to the end of the movie, so you get spoiled anyway. Van Helsing comes back out of the portal at the end. So, yeah. Hey, that lamppost. I'm going to see that lamppost again in 100 years.
But that's the ultimate of just like, well, where do we put our garbage? Just we'll open up a portal. We'll put all the monsters in there. Eventually, there should be a movie where Limbo opens a portal up, says, take them back. You know, there's got to be people over there who are mad about this.
We won't have to worry about it for 100 years. So, but that's the way it is. It's a quick fix. It's only for 100 years. So we go to the school in modern times, and these two young boys, they think about monsters all the time. As I think we all did when we were that age.
Nothing wrong with that.
And this guy, he's trying to be Mr. I think math is cool. He's a dud. And they talk about one of their teachers that has a head that looks like a cat, and then there she is, cat head woman, and there she is, and she does.
That's a turn of phrase that I use to this day. That person has a cat head. Pretty common.
Now, the kid on the right is a kid actor that did a lot of stuff. And he plays the bully in this. Him and his friend play the bully in this. And they bully Horace, who is the fat kid, they call him. That was me in high school, or in junior high school. So they're picking on him. They step on his candy bar, and then Rudy shows up. And Rudy's like the cool kid. He's like the Fonz in the school. So he makes him eat the candy bar. He makes the bully eat the candy bar. And then we find out that they pass a creepy old house, and they say it's a creepy German guy is in the house. And they're kind of scared of him. And then it turns out that Rudy is trying to get into their club, and there's a reason for it. He wants to spy on one of the kid's sisters. Who was the kid? No. Patrick's sister, played by robbykiger. Andregower plays the one in the Stephen King shirt. He is Sean in this, and that's Phoebe. I absolutely adore Phoebe in this. She's one of my favorite characters. So, the creepy German guy looks out, and they run off, and then we go up to a U.S. a World War II cargo plane. It's up in the clouds, and they hear something in the back. The pilot goes back to take a look, and Dracula is back there.
Now, I liked this scene because it was very reminiscent to me of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, where it was the lid opening and the candle is shifting in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and in this one it's the coffin shifting. So
right, yeah, they have the monster crated up. The crate actually says Frankenstein Bavaria on it. It's got painted on the top, stenciled on. So he goes back there, and he's looking around. A bat flies over his head, and then Dracula's behind him. And Dracula punches him, and then he pushes a trap door. He opens the cargo door open, and Dracula just floats, levitates there, as vampires will do. Barbie would tell you. And then he turns into a bat in front of the guy and flies down out of the cargo door, along with the monster's crate, which fell out of the door into a swamp that's close to the kid's house. And there's the little bat. Dracula has turned into the bat. He's hanging off a tree there close by. Now, this is daytime. So I'm surprised that Dracula is not, disintegrating right now.
It's a dark swamp.
It's a dark swamp. A lot of moss on those trees.
You're under the shade cover. So I could see a little bit of lurking about happening there.
He flew down there though, right? Again, just a little. Okay, maybe it was sunset.
Overcast.
Maybe it was sunset. But it looks like daytime from the clubhouse when Rudy's there, and he's watching the sister. Anyway, cringeworthy.
It was a different time.
Yes, it was.
You say that a lot in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a rather heated discussion about 80s, and someone mentioned Porky's. Like, can you imagine today, like that movie's ruckus? Yeah.
Yeah, they made a big deal, a big ruckus of American Pie, and I was like, oh, they shouldn't see Porky's.
Right.
Oh my goodness. I really wasn't expecting a Porky's reference here today. I wasn't. Not on this show. Not in the Big Monster Review Room. Not even, when the guy put his thing through the... Anyway.
80s movies, they're always going to give that to you.
One-eyed... Anyway. So he has to pass a monster test. He has to answer, and he does. He actually answers pretty well on his questions. They talk about how to kill a werewolf. He says silver bullet, and they went, how about number 2? And there really is no other way to kill a werewolf. That's what they're trying to say in the movie.
They do reinforce that in this, but there's historically there are other ways.
Okay.
Yeah. Cut off the head and left hand, burn the body. Occasionally a bunch of creatures will crawl out of the fire. You got to kill all of them. But
yeah. How about wolfsbane? That just kind of keeps them at bay, right?
Yeah, I think they're allergic. Like, if you kill them, but you know,
it's like garlic to a vampire.
You know, yeah, a little spicy throat. They don't want that.
If you can get them to eat it, which probably won't happen. Also, his mother knows that he's into monsters. She had a friend buy a journal from Abraham Van Helsing at a garage sale. Go figure. And then Dracula.
She's also wearing heels while she's making dinner, which I thought was.
It was a different time.
There you go. We're gonna say that over.
That was the June Cleaver thing, you know.
Yeah,
we're in pearls to the.
It was interesting. I kind of felt like it was a choice of like we're bringing back all these like classic monsters over the years, and you know the mom is going to be traditional like 50s mom. You know, it was a choice.
Yeah, it is kind of homage to the old Universal monsters. It certainly is. I'm sure they pitched it to Universal first, and then we have Dracula overlooking the town. From up high, and when the lightning strikes, we get a split second shot of an evil skull face of his, which is kind of weird, but again, entertaining.
So, to me, like Dracula is just such a different power level than most vampires. Like Dracula does such surprising things all the time. So, I think they were just alluding that maybe he was a little more than just a regular vampire.
That would explain that he survived the flight down to the swamp.
He's like the Superman,
very powerful,
right? Is he the Superman of the monsters?
Of vampires, for sure. Yeah, he's definitely one of the strongest ones.
But of monsters in general. Okay. Anyway, let's go
hold
to the
on.
dad.
Are we about to fight? Because I think we're gonna fight.
I'm trying to prevent that.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go get my crossbow, Alan.
I'm gonna go I'm gonna go on the record to say I disagree with that former statement.
Okay.
So all right. So we meet the dad, played by Stephen Macht. His name is Dell. The mom's name is Emily. So that's why she's wearing high heels. The dad is a policeman. He works a lot, evidently. This is a problem in the family. The mother doesn't like that he's always going off to work when he's supposed to be doing things that he's supposed to be doing, like going to counseling. And here he is again. And they're having issues. They make that very clear to us. A guy shows up at the police station, and he's claiming he's a werewolf, and they need to lock him up, which pleases Alan to no end. This is a thing that they should do this more. I think there was actually a Barney Miller episode on this, where a guy shows up and he claims he's a werewolf, and they got to lock him up, and he's a lycanthrope. He thinks he's a werewolf.
It's a wolfman trope. Not a werewolf per se, but a wolfman. Wolfman being cursed, werewolves enjoying it. So very much this is going with the classic Universal lore of, you know, the wolfman is cursed to kill the ones he loves, you know, kind of first. And who knows what this guy has been through already. You know, you don't know his story before he got to this point in the movie.
Right. I do know what he did after this movie. The actor Jongries was in Napoleon Dynamite as the brother. So, he actually he is not the guy that's playing the wolf man in this film. That's a stunt actor who I guess specializes in movement, like monster movement, and he plays what's called the what do they call him? The concerned man. Give me 1 second here.
Is that what they called him?
Something like that. distressed man, concerned man. I thought I had that slide up. I don't. But if you look it up on IMDb, he doesn't even have a name. They just call him concerned man or distressed man or something like that. And the actor's name's jongries. Okay.
He is a little mild. The Wolfman's appearance in this is not super heavy.
Okay. So it takes several guys to contain him, and he eventually gets one of their guns and fires up at the ceiling, and then they shoot him. Meanwhile, at the museum, a mummy has disappeared.
And really throwing this guy under the bus, you know. What's this security guard? He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, what happened?
He doesn't have any explanation for it. You know, they don't just walk off, do they? That's the gag. They show the mummy walking off right after that. And there he is. And what I like about this scene especially is that the ambulance with the werewolf is going right by him as he's walking.
Now,
so that's a nice little.
As a youngster, notice you don't have a mummy expert. Or I'm just saying that right off the bat. But as a kid watching this, I'm like, okay, that's a believable mummy, because I always thought that the Hammer, Christopher Lee mummy, it's like, I don't know why they're super scared of him. He was a little bit lurking. No, he was big, he was strong, and he was juicy, oddly. But this really sets a nice trend of future dry mummies.
Well, and that's what we see when we go to the museums. We see these little shriveled up, you know, beef jerky type mummies wrapped up in bandages, you know. And that's what they did. They got a small actor to play, you know, the mummy. And again, his face is very gnarly and scary looking, which makes him scary to kids in this, obviously. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen his power, his strength.
Yes.
So the ambulance goes by, and we see the full moon out, and he begins to transform. We see his knuckles bubbling. We see his shoes split open and the toes, and the werewolf comes out and kills the ambulance driver.
Yeah,
and the ambulance wrecks. Yeah. Now, this Wolfman. I would like to hear Alan's opinion of this suit and this Wolfman.
Okay, so I really like this because it has a design sense of Curse of the Werewolf, which is one of my favorites with Oliver Reed. You know, the nice white shirt is just it's very much a romantic Wolfman. The ear placement on this is the ears have moved up to the top of the head. Which is it's kind of nice, and it's just a little tiny hint of a snout. I actually really like this Wolfman quite a bit.
Yeah, the nose was the one thing I didn't like about it. I thought the nose just didn't look right to me. But everything else on it I really like. Like you said, I like the big shoulders and the ripped shirt around it, and you know, running around in jeans, ripped up jeans. I like that look, and again, I like the ears. I just had a problem with the nose. I just thought it should look more wolf-like.
Question for Alan: is that because you think they have that more of that little stunted nose because they wanted it to be more of a wolf man than like a full werewolf?
Well, they were actually, during the time, they were very worried that Universal was going to come in and sue them and stop them.
Yeah.
So while all of these individual characters are public domain, they could not use the likenesses of the Universal monsters. So there's a lot of subtle differences where just the monsters in many ways got an upgrade.
Yeah.
Big time. Especially
it's a
with the creature from Black Lagoon and the Wolfman, I think, got kind of the biggest upgrade.
The creature from the Black Lagoon in this, the Gillman, is stupendous. I really like that this creature. Okay, so Dracula is out there in the swamp, and the Wolfman shows up, and he stops him, and then the mummy shows up. They're all together, and then out of the drink, we get our first look at their Gillman, which lifts up the crate from Bavaria and throws it onto the land there, throws it onto the shore. And inside we get Tom Noonan as Frankenstein. And again, very different look from the Universal monster. We don't have the flat head per se. The stitches are not across the forehead so much as around the face. Dracula, again, is dressed with the high collar, which is not... Lugosi never had the high collar. He's got a kind of a ruffled shirt. He does have the like the medallion around his chest there. But again, it is a different look, and the teeth are different. Actually, you never saw Bela Lugosi with fangs in the Universal films.
Right.
The fangs didn't come until Hammer films.
Well, if you remember the flashback of him, he almost had Headless Horseman filed teeth, where all of his teeth were sharp. If you look at the skull flashback.
Right. So again, we get the first shot of the creature or Frankenstein. They bring him back to life by connecting Dracula's cane, and the cane is actually a lightning rod, and that's how they bring him back. And this scene is on our opening credits at the very end of our opening credits.
This is, anytime you get all the monsters lined up like that, like what an amazing scene this is.
Yeah.
And this really made monsters accessible. It wasn't happening in England. It wasn't happening 100 years ago. This was modern day, but all the classic monsters kind of in your backyard. And that's one of the reasons I love it.
And also that sort of terrifying idea that they could all be brought under that Dracula could bring them to wreak havoc all together, that they could be, a real force to be reckoned with.
It's very clear that he is the alpha here in this. He's actually controlling them all. And I'm glad you brought that up, because when the Wolfman is in his human form, they have to control him. They have to dope him up and tie him down, because he's good when he's in his human form. He's only evil when he becomes the Wolfman. What
a terrible servant to only be useful like 3 nights out of a month.
Like
3 to 5 nights out of a month.
And that was convenient that it all lined up. 100 years later, they had the full moon on those nights. I thought that to myself. Wow, how convenient that is.
Yeah.
Okay. So they brought the monster back to life. So now it's the whole gang. The whole gang's together. And I think we go back to the clubhouse, don't we? Or no, maybe not.
Maybe.
Nope. No. Back to the museum. No. Here we go. I've watched this scene several times, and I still don't know what the monster says when he first wakes up. So if anybody else knows, let me know.
I don't.
Not sure.
He says something, and I cannot make it out. I can make out everything else that the monster says in the film, but I can't make that out for some reason. I can't. I keep what? I'm trying to hear it, and I can't.
I thought maybe he said "nice nap."
That's what it was. See, we need our Franken expert to tell us.
5 more minutes, Mom. 5 more minutes.
He hit the snooze alarm. Okay, so we come back, and our lead actor, played by Andregower, because I don't have my slide in front of me anymore. I lost my slideshow. He realizes that he got a message from Dracula, because it's from Alucard, which is Dracula backwards, and we know that from Son of Dracula. And this is a scene where the kid says he's got a monster in his closet. He really does. The mummy is in there. Not sure why he's in Eugene's closet, but
what a lack of control Dracula has over his people, where the mummy just wanders off and ends up in some kid's closet.
Really
you guys go off and do some evil now.
Like,
awful management.
This is what the mummy comes up with. He's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go hang out in this kid's closet. That'll be great.
To his credit, Eugene is one of the Monster Squad. He's the youngest member, or probably Phoebe's the youngest member, but he's the second youngest member. Eugene has the what I call the most annoying lines. They're so cute that you just want to throttle him. Mommy was in my closet. Creature stole my Twinkie. Dracula, bite him, please. He calls the group together back into the club. Somehow he gets them all to come out at night. to tell them that Dracula is here and there's probably other monsters in the area as well. Now, we were talking about copyright earlier. Dracula's talking to Frankenstein here. He's telling him, I need that book from the kids. If the kids get in your way, kill them. And that's when I realized that this Frankenstein design is more of a Mad Monster Party design than it is Universal Studios. So, and that shows in my next slide, I think. Maybe not.
I can see that now that you mentioned it.
See, look at that face now. And now look at the next slide. Tell me I'm wrong. If you don't know what Mad Monster Party is, we're going to do it one of these days on the show. It's an old Rankin and Bass holiday special. Or movie, actually. It was a movie. So the kids decide they're going to get the scary German guy. And in this picture, he looks very scary, to translate the book for them. And this is when Frankenstein shows. And this shot here is almost a mirror image of the Maria scene from the original Frankenstein movie. There's no clubhouse in it, but
as a kid, I wanted so bad for him to just yeet her into the lake.
that's what they're setting up. He's like, oh my God,
yeah. I felt so ripped off.
He's gonna throw her into the lake, and his shoes look more Popeye than the Universal Monster. Again, copyright. So, but see, look at the shoes there. They look more like Popeye. What is Sweet Haven? He came from Sweet Haven. Turns out that the scary German guy is actually a pretty cool guy. He likes pie. And he helps him to translate, and he tells him that tomorrow night is going to be the night that evil is going to reign supreme if they don't get this amulet and this stone and open up the portal to Limbo. And they say, hey, you're a pretty cool dude. And he says, oh, well, I know monsters too. And when he closes the door, we find out he's not a creepy old German guy. He's a creepy old Jewish guy.
Well, he could have been a creepy German guy, but
did they tattoo the soldiers?
Well, not soldiers, but anyone in a camp. There were Romani. There were lots of folks who went to camps. It wasn't just Jewish, but it certainly was.
Yeah. Okay.
But in the previous scene, we saw a menorah in the background, so he's definitely Jewish.
Yes. Yeah.
That is true. Yeah.
A sweet beaded menorah.
So he speaks German. He knows it. But he's a survivor. And then the guys meet Frankenstein. Phoebe's like, hey, look what I found. And of course they haul boogie. They run for the hills, as you would expect. Tom Noonan is really a delightful monster in this.
And he is always wonderful in everything.
Yeah, he's a good actor. He's the one wonderful thing. What is that Schwarzenegger movie where Schwarzenegger is quoting Shakespeare? The Last Action Hero. He plays the villain in The Last Action Hero, and he's wonderful in that.
Is that him?
That's that's the best part of that movie.
Oh, I really liked that serial killer guy. He was good.
Yes, he's the best part of that movie. He's also in Eight-Legged Freaks. He plays the scientist that actually releases all the spiders by accidentally. So he's actually the first victim. So they run, and Horace goes right into the trash can. You talk about a trope. I'll hide in the trash can. Put the lid right over my head. They'll never know.
And I like how he's given that like.
Yeah, I need to say something about this though. Like,
sure,
they wouldn't let Phoebe, like the little sister, in their club, and she turns out to be like the coolest unofficial member of the club by making friends with Frankenstein.
Yeah. She even says, "Can I be in the club now?" Like bringing Frankenstein to the table wouldn't do it,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the sign on the door says no girls allowed. So,
yeah,
rules.
it's one of those deals.
One could argue that she is the worst one in the club, because if they're hunting monsters, and she goes out and makes friends. Like that's you're not really a good monster hunter.
True.
Making homies,
Just slight oversight.
Who actually surprisingly turns into a great member of this club is Rudy. I mean, at the end, Rudy, when they're setting up for the big finale at the end, he's making silver bullets, he's stealing bows and arrows, he's making stakes for vampires. He's doing all the work. All the rest of the guys are writing notes and stuff.
He is not wasting his time in shop class, that's for sure.
No, not at all. He turns out to be a valuable member of this club.
But he's very much set up to be the hero in this, almost from the beginning, because he saves Horace in the beginning.
Yeah.
From the bullies.
And he's wearing a leather jacket,
And he's wearing a leather jacket.
Hero.
So they have Frankenstein in their clubhouse. How he got up there with those shoes and fits, I don't know, but they did it. And they show him, I guess they thought it was a good idea to show him a Frankenstein costume with a monster mask of him. And then it gets real awkward.
He probably got up there the same way the dog did,
That's true. They pulled him up. All of them.
All of them, right? Yeah.
So, yeah, he's like, scary. He's learned a lot. Phoebe's taught him a lot of English. She taught him bogus. She taught him scary. And she's taught him a lot of words. And again, there's the awkward looks. Uh-oh, we messed up. Shouldn't have shown him the mask. But he's good. He's good about it. Now, okay, let's go back. I'm gonna quiz Jaime on this, or I'm gonna tell her to expound upon this. Oh, no. Frankenstein's brain. Okay, he's a killer, right?
Supposed to be, yeah.
It's an abnormal brain.
Yes.
You would think that he wouldn't be this nice.
Maybe they gave him some candy, and maybe they gave him some Coca-Cola. I don't know.
That soothes a savage beast.
Yes, exactly. Or it's the 80s, so they may have given him something stronger. I don't know.
I'm thinking that their time with him was short. That's probably a good thing.
And he's always just so misunderstood, right? Like,
well, and again, I get it. They're trying to show the pathos, like Boris Karloff.
No question about Dracula,
Oh, Dracula is so mean in this.
So
he is incredibly mean in this.
Wolfman,
what
he can control it, right? But Frankenstein, heart of gold.
So they find the amulet in the creepy old house that they're in, which is not far away, conveniently. And that's the shop class. Yeah, here's Rudy not wasting his time. He's showing him the birdhouse that he's made, and then he turns his back and he's sharpening wooden stakes to thrust through vampires. Now Eugene is writing. Okay, let's talk about Eugene's letter here. Dear Army guys, come quick. There are monsters, Eugene. Okay, now me being a military guy, I would certainly drop everything, get a tank and a division of two squads of soldiers, and go out to this kid's house right away.
As you should, yes.
And it's written in crayon, so you gotta love that.
But it's the black crayon, so he's serious.
He's very serious. This is really serious. We got to get out there now.
Is that lined paper? Right, like it's so carefully done.
So it must have been a slow day. That's all I'm saying. And like he's making silver bullets. Man, he just got in the club this week. And he's making silver bullets. He's really trying to impress. So he's stealing bows and arrows right out in the open where everybody can see him. Rudy's the bomb. Okay, so here's the Wolfman in his concerned or distressed guy form. And here are three ladies that have been gathered up for Dracula's feast while he's in town.
Assuming they might be the new brides.
Yes. He's going to turn them into his... He has to have three brides hanging around, I guess.
Although I was disappointed he did not have an armadillo in this.
He did at the beginning.
He did too?
He did.
Okay.
There is an armadillo in the first scene.
Okay.
Really?
Where they
I did
blew
not
it.
get that.
Well, an armadillo shows up in the original Dracula. So
And she's eating a possum.
yes, eating a possum, I remember.
She's eating a possum, the bride, and there was an armadillo in the first one. If you watch it, yeah, you'll see it. It's very clear. And because I've always questioned that. What the hell is an armadillo doing in a crypt?
You have to. Armadillos and vampires are really related.
They hang tight.
Intertwined.
Okay, so the father, Del, gets a phone call from the Wolfman, but unfortunately he turns into the Wolfman when he's on the phone. He's trying to warn him that Dracula's after his kid.
I just hate when that happens. It's the most annoying time. It's the most inopportune times that it chooses to flare up,
You lose your change. I mean, come on.
Murphy's Law, people. Murphy's Law.
So that is my favorite werewolf transformation in any movie.
Really?
Jake's, it's violent. It takes 5 seconds and he's done. And then he's ready to go about his wolfman business.
That is
not
surprise.
some agonizing 20 minutes of rolling around. It's and then I'm a werewolf now. Go.
That crunching of the bones that you normally hear. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. It's really fast. It happens fast. It's nice.
Instant werewolf. I'm a werewolf now. Poof. So they have to find a virgin to read the incantation, and they found someone who they think is a virgin. Rudy has, and it's Robbie's sister. And the guys decide to storm the creepy. They got Frankenstein and take him to the creepy house, to the house they're supposed to be at, where the amulet is. He knows where it is. So they go in. Now, unfortunately, they go in right at the time when they're blowing the wall downstairs to get to the amulet. And that unfortunately causes a cave-in on top of the monster at the front of the house there. So he's out of action. Boom.
Did you see that comment? They addressed the Wolfman having genitals in this. Wolfman's got nards.
Coming up. That line is coming up next, actually. The Wolfman shows up right after that cave-in. This is when they get surrounded by monsters. There he is, and Horace is trapped behind the Wolfman, and he says, kick him in the nards. Werewolves don't have nards. Kick him in the nards. He kicks him in the nards, and he goes, werewolves got nards. Now, or Wolfman's got nards is what he says. Now, they actually had a special about this movie, a behind-the-scenes kind of special. 15 years later, they're doing conventions and showing special showings of this movie and all. And the title is Wolfman's Got Nards.
And I was a very young haunter when this came out. I'm working in haunted houses.
Yeah.
And for many years, like probably up until like 92, 93, as a Wolfman in a haunted house, I had to wear a cup. Because every 3 groups, someone would yell, Wolfman's got nards. And every 5 or 6 groups, someone would try it. It was a rough time to be a Wolfman.
Wow.
I hope you had
did not know that.
insurance. I hope they gave you some kind of insurance or medical plan.
No, just a cup. That's all.
A very strong cup. And the vampire brides have arrived, and they've got one hallway. Dracula's coming up another hallway, which you can't see. You can see it if you're on computer. And they magically find the statue with the arm that comes down, that gets into the trap door that goes down below, and they find the amulet. But Dracula's down there immediately, poof, and he strangles the young boy to try to get the amulet. And luckily, Horace has a piece of pizza stashed on him, and it's got garlic on it. And he smashes it into Dracula's face. And I so wanted Dracula, after the kids ran away from him, to go, kids, But it didn't happen. He remained Dracula, even though they really burned his face, which is nice.
That's a very strong allergy.
So all the people get together, including the scary, creepy German guy, Jewish guy. They all get together. Rudy and the Virgin and Robbie, they show up on their bikes. And the creepy Jewish guy's got a Jeep. And then the mummy shows up. And he latches onto the back of the Jeep. And Rudy gets the brilliant idea to attach one of his bandages around an arrow, and he shoots the arrow into a tree. And it completely and totally unravels the mummy. I love that look. This is the look of, oh no.
Yeah, he's having a bad day. They figured out my weakness. Unraveling.
I've just lost my depends. So he completely unravels. I love that scene. It's a great bit.
I mean, he's mostly dust and sand at this point.
Yeah. It makes total sense. The only thing that's holding him together is the bandages. So the last thing we see is the top of his skull on the road. And then the father, looking for his son, is in the police car with his cohort, his friend. They drive through Dracula's car. Dracula goes to his house and blows up the clubhouse because he's pissed. The father shows up. He points the gun at him. Dracula just laughs it off. And Dracula can make fire happen just by looking at you.
And he has an odd love of dynamite in this movie. He really loves the dynamite.
Well, they blew up his front door 100 years ago. He's getting back. It's revenge. I love the fact that he ripped the back door off of his own hearse just to get to the dynamite.
Yes.
So he blows up the car with the detective's friend in it. Oh, my slide just came back. Sean is Andre's name. By the way, I got a message from him. He liked the advertisements that we did for this show. And I asked him if he could come on. And he said he didn't know if he could make it this show, but we're probably going to meet with him either on It's Casual or this show sometime in the near future, I hope. He seems like a really nice guy. So the mother and the father are now, looking at Dracula as he changes into a bat and flies away. So how do you explain that? A lot of product placement in this. A lot of Pepsi in this. A lot of Burger King. They get to the center of town where they think they should be. They go to the church. They can't get in the church. It's locked. And then the vampire brides show up. I love the look of this scene of these brides coming up the street like that in the white. Very creepy, nice,
very
nicely
classic.
set up. Yeah, nicely set up. And Rudy again steps up, says, "Hey, I'm part of the team," and he takes him out. He fires those stakes right through their heart. Dracula flies over town. You can't see it here, but he flies over town just as the father comes in his father wagon and shoots the vampire midair. Father's a good shot.
That's a good shot.
And there we have Dracula upstairs in the building right next to it with he's still a vampire. Or still a bat form kind of, but you can see his collar, which I thought was nice.
Well, and you can see the red satin of his cape as well.
Yes,
it's
underneath.
just a nice hodgepodge of man and bat. Well dressed man.
Look at those arms.
He didn't change back all the way. So he's gonna take dynamite. Oh, you're gonna dynamite my house? I got some dynamite too. He doesn't realize the Wolfman's behind him. So that gets knocked out of his hand. The Wolfman cleans the place up with him.
Adidas. I'm just going to yell out the product placement now.
Yeah, Adidas. Yeah, you're right. And the son, Sean, shows up with a tin baseball bat and knocks the werewolf side to head. The father puts the dynamite down his pants because he's got nards, and they kick him out the window. And that should do it, right? Werewolf goes out the window, blows up into pieces, right?
That should not do it. He'll be fine.
He'll be just fine.
Yeah.
He'll be great. He'll brush it off. Just a scratch. There he is blowing up.
Steel.
There he's blowing up. So he's down in the street. Now, okay, here is where I have a question. Why did they not dispatch Dracula? While he's still trying to transform back into Dracula. They run out. They leave Dracula alone.
Too much going on.
I guess.
They did just murder someone.
Too excited.
So they were ready to flee, I think.
Okay.
How that works.
So she's trying to read the incantation and nothing's happening. So they're like, "You're not a virgin, are you?" And she goes, "Well, there was Frank, but that doesn't count," or whatever she said. And then again, they're flip-flopping between scenes quite a bit here. The Wolfman's parts are twitching and moving. And then they all come together, and he comes together as a shadow on the wall, which is kind of nice. It's kind of an interesting way to show it. And then he pops out of the alley where Rudy sees him. And, of course, the police come in. And now here's where we get what I call the Kolchak the Night Stalker scenes, where the cops are jumping on the monster, and the monster's flinging them all over the place. This happens 3 times now. This happens with the Wolfman, the Gillman, and Dracula. They do it 3 times. And it's definitely homage to Kolchak the Night Stalker. It's got to be. So that's when they find out she's not a virgin. And Rudy realizes, hey, I got to take him out with a silver bullet. And he does. And he says, "Thank you," and dies.
Now, I think that the creature here is played by Tom Woodruff Jr.,
Okay.
who is an amazing creature actor. He also played Pumpkinhead. I mean, he's been in a ton of things as a monster. Really excellent here. And this is the paint job on him. Steve Wang had to fight from the studio that he was working with, and he brought in all these pictures of frogs and all of these reptiles and amphibians, and said, "I want to do something like this," because it just hadn't been done before, those natural patterns.
Right.
And that's completely an amazing paint job on that.
Yeah, it looks incredible. I mean, it really is. In my opinion, personally, my humble opinion is, is who I am. It's one of the nicest. It's the nicest underwater sea monster creature, or even freshwater monster creature I've ever seen in a movie. It's the most realistic. And Horace takes it out with a shotgun that he grabs from one of the policemen that he knocks down. And the kids, the bully kids, are in the restaurant there, the Burger King. They won't let him in. They go, "Hey, nice job, fat boy," or whatever it is. They said fat kid. And he says, "My name is Horace." And they have a little music thing that sounds like Rambo. Dun-dun! As he shucks the shotgun. And they realize that Phoebe is a virgin. That makes sense. And she's going to read the incantation. So the German guy helps her, or the Jewish guy helps her read the incantation. She does it much better than the grown girl. She pronounces it perfectly as he pronounces it. She mimics it. Now, here's the strange part. Dracula is now at the end of the street doing a long walk up to Phoebe. He was in the building next door, wasn't he?
Maybe he flew away to regenerate fully.
They give him. He's got a dramatic flair. What can I say? Look at the way he dresses. He's coming up the long street, knocking cops down all along the way.
I love those teeth.
Yeah. So he grabs her and he calls her up. He calls a little tiny girl a bitch. He's mean, man. He's mean. And that's the look of a vampire who gets picked up by the back of his neck by Frankenstein. We forgot about Frankenstein. He's still out there. So he throws him onto a fence, which is nice because it's Dracula and he's mean. He just called a little girl a bitch. And tenderness between him and Phoebe, and she finishes off the incantation. Go ahead.
Although you kind of froze a little bit, so I didn't know if you were stopped.
Yeah, go ahead. They open up the portal. Again, definitely some tenderness between Frankenstein and Phoebe. Phoebe is smart. She knows to grab onto a park bench. Get behind that park bench. And the rest of them know they better secure themselves fast. They go and grab railings at the church. Because this is and they're grabbing onto a tree. Sean and his mom and dad. And the portal opens up. So unfortunately, Dracula grabs Sean. He said he was going to get Sean to the father. And Sean luckily manages to get his hands on a stake that's flying by, heading to the portal with him, and he stakes Dracula. Young kid staking a vampire. And hands come out of nowhere and grab Dracula and take him up into the portal. It's Abram Van Helsing. He's come back. So Phoebe is reaching for Frankenstein. Frankenstein's, reaching for Phoebe. He doesn't have a park bench. So he's going into the portal, and Phoebe throws her little bunny rabbit to him. So he's got something for the next 100 years to play with. Well, and Van Helsing, they can play chess or something, They can play house.
I think as soon as they get back in the portal, Van Helsing offs him. Because he's a monster in Van Helsing's book.
But he's nice now.
And they're like swirling around forever, and he's like, "I'm gonna get you."
Yeah,
they got to get along for 100 years.
Yeah. Van has no idea what happened to him. Frankenstein is still a monster. So,
so the military shows up. The family's together. The military shows up, and that's when they introduce themselves with their handmade cards. They're the Monster Squad, and that's the picture. That's it. We're the Monster Squad.
That was actually pretty good. That was actually pretty good.
They have a nice little hip hop beat at the end.
That was extremely accurate.
Yeah.
I thought that the soundtrack was playing. It was uncanny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. That's a career.
And that's
move
it for my
for
PhD
you.
too.
General, you could
Perfect.
do a whole career doing that. Wow.
I thank you all for coming and helping me go through this. Thank you all for your comments and keeping us on track with our vampires, our Frankensteins, our Wolfman, and of course the Gillman and the Mummy as well. An interesting picture. If you guys haven't seen it, you should.
I have a question. So this was monsters against people, but if we were to quickly, because I know we have a few minutes here, if the monsters were fighting each other, who would win?
Oh
no.
See, Alan, she's ready to fight.
The Wolfman would win.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
He's
that's
ready to
like
fight.
not even a question.
Wow.
Did you see what one bullet did to Dracula? It messed him up for a long time. He was like half a tuxedo, half a bat creature, wiggling around like he was a half-baked biscuit. It wasn't good. Wolfman
he was up in the Adidas factory.
Wolfman was blown up
with
crotch first. It was in his crotch.
Just a piece of garlic pizza, for crying out loud.
45 seconds later, he's attacking people.
It's true.
It's the inefficiency of Dracula's regeneration will be his downfall.
Yeah.
We saw how easily the Mummy and the
all
Gillman
about
went down.
efficiency and speed in these things, right? Like,
Frankenstein is very smart, but very strong, but not smart enough to use silver against the Wolfman. So he would just have this cycle of break the Wolfman, until the Wolfman gets lucky and takes out Frankenstein.
Pulls them apart like Dracula did.
Yep.
Just the way he was created.
Gillman. I don't think we have a.
We'll just wait for him to dry out. Treat him like a slug. Put a little salt on him.
Yeah.
And then he can't go anywhere.
All right,
Okay, everybody. We have no icing with
thank you.
Sandy
Thanks so
D's
much.
coming up, and Ray Buffer's going to be there. Rory Penland's going to be there. Renee Yaworsky's going to be there. The Sandy D show.
I hear
and
Fugor
that's
might be
coming
there
up
too.
Right now. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Love
you, everybody.
guys.
Have a great
Bye.
night. Thank you so much.